Hello, and welcome to the 5 Core Life podcast with Will Moore, founder of More Momentum. If you've not already, please make sure to follow and subscribe to the podcast so that you get notified when new episodes air every week. On today's episode of the 5 Core Life podcast, Will Moore is interviewed on the Simply Human podcast by Mark Rogers and Rick Bentley. On their podcast, Mark and Rick help humans discover just how simple being a healthy human really is. Eat like a human, move like a human, sleep like a human, enjoy life like a human. On this episode, Mark and Rick talk to Will Moore about Netflix shows, his son's drive-by birthday, Will's birthday, Selling Land, Far and Away starring Tom Cruise, Doorstep Delivery, Making $1 Million, reading, and the 5 cores themselves: mindset, career and finances, relationships, physical health, and emotional health and giving back. Are you ready to fire on all cylinders? If so, let's go. Everyone has the same 5 core areas of their life that ultimately determine how happy they'll be. Unfortunately, most of us have developed failure habits in each, and it's Will Moore's mission to help replace those with success habits to maximize momentum. After exiting his business for a combined 9-figure sum, Will learned it's not just about becoming an entrepreneur of your career, but an entrepreneur of the most important business you'll ever run, your life. And to crush it in your life requires firing on all cylinders in your 5 cores by continually taking action, building habits, and maintaining balance in each.
On today's show, we have Will Moore. Will is a serial entrepreneur and the founder of More Momentum, a self-improvement movement helping people become the best versions of themselves.
Awesome.
A self-improvement movement. There we go. Yeah. A self-improvement movement. Ha! That's fun to say. After selling one millions.
Man.
Maybe he'll sponsor the show. He learned that his career and finances were only a portion of what it takes to become truly successful in your life. Perfect timing. Will. Do you go by Will or William?
Will is good.
Okay, because it says William on some of your stuff, and so I know that's you don't go by.
I know. I used to go by William when I thought I was all fancy schmancy, but now I'm just Will.
And then pretty soon it's just going to be Billy. You're just going
to Wild Bill.
Yeah.
Wild Bill Hiccup, yeah, or just Woo. Don't even get through it.
So we're recording. We've done an intro. Where are you calling in from?
I am in good old Chicago, Illinois.
Oh,
wow. Chicago. We were just talking about Chicago, not in the intro, but we were talking about that earlier because the Bulls documentary.
Oh, right. Are you look like you're about our age. Are you a big Michael Jordan fan? Or are you even from Chicago?
So I am a Jordan fan.
Okay.
I am not from Chicago.
Okay.
I just actually moved here 4 years ago. I was living in Florida. You may have heard of it. It's where all the Dateline NBCs are filmed.
Yes.
People tend to eat each other. It's like whenever there's something absolutely crazy that you're like, you can't make this stuff up, it usually comes from Florida.
Ted Bundy.
Florida man strikes again.
Yeah.
Florida man, right. Florida man eats another Florida man for breakfast. It was at 11. So actually, I grew up in just the real quick. It's kind of a crazy little story. My parents were hippies. My mom was my grandfather was a general in World War II in the Korean War. So she was a army brat. So she traveled all around. She was stationed in Honolulu at one point. So I was born in California.
So your father was Hawaiian.
So no, they weren't. Neither of them were. But they met and then my dad converted my mom to a hippie.
Awesome.
And the general completely boycotted the wedding. He's like, "You're not marrying a hippie." And she's like, "Yes, I am."
Oh my gosh.
That's a whole nother story. But so then basically they moved. They're like, "Well, okay, as hippies, where would be a cool place to live off the land?" And they're like, "All right, let's go to Hawaii." So we lived in Honolulu because my mom had been stationed there when she was with my grandfather in the war.
Right.
So they moved to Honolulu and we were there. So then they got divorced early, but we were there till 7. And then I moved to Washington, D.C., Bethesda, Maryland. And I was there through high school. And then I went to college in Florida. And I lived there for about 10 years after.
So like the Wire, was that were you involved in all of that stuff from the Wire?
What? The Wire?
Yeah.
Mark, he's involved in The Wire. He lived in East Baltimore next to Prop Joe.
Wire, yeah. No, a very popular show. I know. I actually never watched that one.
Well, sir.
We're in a pandemic. I highly recommend it.
Strongly suggest.
Yeah, you've probably already watched The Tiger King. You've probably caught up on Ozark. It's now time for you to start.
Clearly, both of those were like day one of day 1 and 2 of the pandemic.
Yeah. All right, so what do we do on day 3?
Day 3, yeah. I have not. Okay, I'll have to check that out.
Yeah,
because I
it's
have
great.
heard a lot of good things.
Yeah, actually, Rick is the one who recommended it to me a couple of years ago, and I flew through it. When Ozark was finished, like last week, I finished it. I was like, okay, now I can get on with my life. Now I can like pay attention to my children because I couldn't stop watching. Have you watched it, Rick?
I'm like,
I can't. I don't know what it was.
I haven't finished the first season, and I need to just say I'm gonna do it and just.
I don't know if it's just because
away.
I have such a man crush on Jason Bateman or something. I don't know.
I have such a man crush on Jason Bateman. He's able to be like awesome. Like guys like him, girls like him.
Yeah.
That's a rare quality.
Oh, and he's been around forever. He was Teen Wolf 2.
Teen Wolf 2. One of the worst movies ever.
So
but God, I love it.
So bad.
And he was in what was the show, the sitcom he did? Like Valerie's Children?
They're not Different Strokes.
Different strokes.
It was what it was like. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. It was one of those old ones. Dang it.
Yeah, it was like Growing Pains and then that one.
Well, and he was great in Arrested Development.
Oh,
yeah.
So good.
Before it had ahead of its time.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, yes, it was.
That's another one. If you haven't watched that and you're listening,
I may start that over.
Yeah,
again.
that's one of those that you could start it from the beginning, like Seinfeld. I did that a few years ago. Went back through Seinfeld, and it's just as great. Every show you could watch. Every show 5 times or more, and it's fine.
That's so funny you say that. About a year ago, I went down the Seinfeld rabbit hole. I think I rewatched every single one.
Yeah, and there's not a bad episode. I mean, some of the early ones they haven't really hit their groove yet, but
right.
You know, like once they, golly, there's just not a
once
bad
Kramer
one.
starts opening the door in the Kramer-like fashion, that's when they started to kind of.
That's when, right?
And
that's
then
when it was all smooth.
And then you ask, who is your favorite character? Now we've opened up another. I mean, because it's obviously Seinfeld, but he's like, well, God, George is so great. And then, there's those little the whole Ted Danson argument. You remember this? Where they're in the cafe. This is probably getting a little. We're getting a little detailed when he's just like, why can't we can't pay enough to? You're not Ted Danson. You're bad. He's bad. You're not. Oh, it's so good. You're worse, much worse.
Real quick, going back to Ozark, I want to put a period exclamation point on it. So I loved the first season. I did not love the second season, although I didn't hate it. But the third season I thought was really good.
Oh, it's so good.
Okay, you know what? I'm almost done with Man in the High Castle.
Ooh, that's another good one.
We'll move on to Ozark.
Okay.
I will resume. I'm kind of like halfway through season 1, I think.
Do you have children?
I have children, bro.
Okay,
Bros.
so like
I got a 4-year-old. He just turned 4 yesterday.
Oh, jeez.
We had a coronavirus drive-by. Not a drive-by shooting, but a drive-by birthday party.
That was a terrible birthday.
That was a terrible birthday. Yeah, so it's crazy. That's how they're doing it now.
We were. I just remembered we were supposed to do a drive-by 70th wedding anniversary tonight.
And you forgot?
Oh my God.
Totally forgot.
Well, I hope I don't get blamed for that because it was probably right now.
It was at 6, and there's no way they're making it to 71. Okay. So my kids are 10, 9, and 6, and I wake up and they're fighting. They each have their own little device, and they're each watching Netflix, and I'm going, and they start arguing, and I feel like the crotchety old man. I'm like, listen, I had 2 older brothers. If we were in a pandemic when we were growing up, we had 3 channels to choose from, and there was 1 TV. Like, quit arguing. This is the most incredible time to be in a pandemic of all time.
God. So spoiled.
Get out of here with your arguing.
This is the golden age of television, so for sure.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable the amount of choices you have. I mean, I'm just like, it's too much.
I just
last night. I spent 2 hours just flicking through
just to see. I watched.
Seriously, I was like, oh my God, these previews are great, and I actually realized maybe I enjoy previews more than the actual
show. We watched. I've been like there's some of the later Terminators I've kind of lost track of. Loved the first couple, and I've last night I finished the most recent one where Arnold is like the old man Terminator, and it's it's so good just because it's Arnold. And
the first 2 were phenomenal.
Yeah,
and then they went off the rails for a little bit.
Yeah.
I didn't see this most recent one.
It's not terrible. It's good because Arnold's in it, and he's an hilarious old Terminator. You know, like he is his quick wit. He owns he owns a drape business. He's like old and like has a family and like it started like Carl's Draperies. It's actually really funny. Oh, it's so good. Okay, we've gone 8 minutes and just done nothing. Okay,
talked about television.
Yeah,
this is the most quarantine
we're also
discussion
desperate.
ever.
We're gonna skip the birthday game. What just since we've been doing this so long? What is your? We're just gonna ask you. When is your birthday?
April 7th.
That's what I was gonna guess.
I was gonna guess.
We do
that.
a thing, William, where we guess our guest's birthday.
I was gonna guess April 7th,
and I was gonna.
Well, then why didn't you guess before so I could see if you were right?
Well, because for some reason Mark just decided we're going to
Well, because we're already 9 minutes in.
Time, now we're spending 2 minutes talking about it.
So I'm supposed to believe that you guys were going to guess my birthday?
Yeah. Hey, would you like to know something, William?
He said Will. He goes by Will.
Oh, well, I'm sorry, Will. I'm the only one in the history of this show who's ever hit the nail right on the head. So.
Wow. That's impressive.
Well, aren't you?
Thank you very much.
That's actually very impressive.
Thank you, Will. I appreciate that.
Speaking,
Mark, did you hear that last part?
I didn't. I was cutting out. Speaking of the pandemic and food delivery service, can you tell us a little bit about Doorstep Delivery and kind of tell us kind of how all that happened, and then kind of past that and what you're doing now?
Yeah, Doorstep, man. Whew. So we opened our doors right after I was actually selling land back in the day when real estate was the hottest thing since sliced bread.
What are we talking about? Early 2000s?
Yeah, it is 2005 to 2007, the sweet spot.
Right.
When you couldn't buy a piece of real estate and not gain 10% the next day
in like a week, right? Yeah, or less.
Right. So I was doing that, and then I actually was working for a company selling land, and that's actually a whole other story. It's really interesting. Have either of you seen the movie Far and Away?
Oh my gosh, yes. Nicole Kidman and Tom Cruise, great movie. I wept.
At the end, do you remember that scene?
Were they all running out for the land?
Rush for land.
Yes.
And they're all on horseback.
And they're shooting each other. Yes. And yes. So
I kid you not, I literally was working for a company that was that, but with SUVs. Our company bought huge parcels of land, and my job as a land consultant would be to essentially take the incoming. They would spend hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions even, who knows? They spent a lot on advertising. And this is when you couldn't miss with real estate. And they would say huge, 5 to 10 acre parcels out in Gainesville, Florida, beautiful pine trees and lakes and da-da-da. And so we would buy this land. We'd start to subdivide it. We'd have this one day blowout sale. And literally we would have like hundreds of people there. And there'd only be 20 to 30 lots.
And whoever got there first?
And we lined up in these SUVs, and people would get in our cars, and it was literally like a race to whoever got to the parcel and put their sold sticker in it first actually got that.
Did anyone get shot during that?
No, but there were fist fights. Legit between customers, there were fist fights. Like two cars pulled up at the same time, and the customer's like, "No, this is mine." The other one's like, "No, this is mine," and they got into it. There was a lady that hid in the bushes the night before.
Oh, genius!
She got a piece of land that she wanted, and she ran out like, "Oh, I was here the whole time," and everybody's like, "No, you weren't in an SUV, you liar." That land consultant ended up getting fired because they said that he was in on it. It was straight out of a science fiction novel. Anyways, so I was doing that, and I saw the writing on the wall because real estate started to basically, things. We went from our phones ringing off the hook to literally just crickets.
Right. This is before the 2008 collapse.
So I thought, what can I do? What can, I always had that entrepreneur kind of spirit in me, and I always knew I wanted to start my own thing. And I was like, what can I do? What does this place need? And I was living in Orlando, Florida at the time, the Dateline NBC gap. And I was like, you know what? Everybody needs to eat. And here I was a pretty healthy guy at the time. I was working out. I was trying to eat well. I liked my sushi. I liked my greens. I liked my, and my protein. But all I could get was pizza and Chinese.
Right.
I'm like, there's got to be something. And I could not believe there wasn't. So I literally quit my job before it really hit the bottom, and everybody thought I was crazy. They're like, "Are you nuts? We're making so much money at this company."
But the phone had stopped ringing, so you knew something was up.
Right. Nicole Kidman's over here. Not really. But bottom line is I quit. I grabbed my best friend. I was like, "Dude, trust me, there's something here." He's like, "I don't think there's enough money in it." I was like, "There is. We'll figure it out." And essentially decided to start Doorstep Delivery, which was your favorite restaurants delivered to your doorstep. Because one thing that we couldn't do while we were even stuck in the office was get that good food delivered.
Right.
Meanwhile, same thing at home, you know, and I'm like, I want my sushi. I want my sushi. And I couldn't believe nobody else was doing it. And so we started it, and it was crazy at the very beginning. We were taking phone orders over the phone. There was no apps. The iPhone hadn't even come out yet.
Right.
Actually, it had just come out, right?
Yeah.
Nobody knew how to work it.
Right.
And so, you know, I don't want to go on and on, but that's kind of the start of how it all got going.
And it sold for just a few dollars.
Yeah, well, so it's funny. We started before Grubhub. Uber Eats, I mean, wasn't even a twinkle in the
Uber wasn't even a thing back then.
From.
Yeah.
You know, none of that stuff was around. And so we grew and we grew. We had no competition. We started franchising out. We started doing corporate locations. So then we had 19 locations in the Southeast. And then we got wind that other companies were doing kind of similar around the country, but we dominated Florida and the Southeast region of the U.S. And all of a sudden, these big boys with their big swinging you-know-whats are like, oh, we're going to spend billions of dollars to squash you because we can. And, you know, the Grubhubs, the Uber Eats, at the time, Amazon had a delivery service, DoorDash, Postmates, you name it. They were coming out of the woodwork, and they seemed to have a never-ending stream of investor funds where they were determined to essentially lose money to gain market share.
Right.
And we were a for-profit business. Crazy, right?
Right.
We were actually trying to make a profit. And so we're like, well, we can't compete with this. So it was just fortunate timing. I reached out to this guy out of Minneapolis that had a similar type company. We'd been talking for years, and we thought, you know what? Why don't we join forces, raise some capital? They had a better app than we did as well. Their app was much better. And at this point, you know, we've gone way past the calling your orders in to, you know, the app was everything. It's user experience. You want to order your food, you go online, you put your address, you want to have all the restaurants right there, be able to click a couple buttons.
You want to talk to anyone, just get me my food.
Just give me just give me my
shove food in food hole.
Food hole. That's actually, that was our slogan.
You should have had like a service where like you fed people like baby birds. Like they just open your mouth and you pre-chewed the food and spit it in there.
Gross. Oh, gross.
So yeah, I mean, wait, who am I? What's happening? Okay, so bottom line is we merged with these guys, and we built up the company, and we started tackling these we call them tier 2 and tier 3 cities. So it's not the New Yorks, the LAs, the Chicagos. It's the Orlandos of the world. It's the Tampas. It's the Nashville, Tennessees, right? It's those places that didn't have such a huge population yet that we could kind of sneak in the side door, gain market share. And one thing we learned about this business is if you if you do your customers right and they're ordering food from you and they're getting what they want and they're happy, they're not going to switch. Right. So it's kind of first into the market wins. And so we were fortunate to gain a good market share in a lot of these tier 2 and tier 3 cities, and then we exited last year.
And since then, you've done nothing but bathe in gold coins like Scrooge McDuck.
Oh my God, dude. That is so funny you say that, because yes, that's exactly what I did. No, I had this golf trip, and it became this running joke. So after I sold my company, this is buddies I've known for years, right? And so I sold my company, and all of a sudden, you know, it became like dude, what do? Do you just sit home and drink champagne by the fireplace with your dickie?
With your butler serving you?
You know, and I was like, yeah, that's actually exactly what I do. And so the one guy that asked, literally, he kind of like half seriously asked that question. He's like, so what do? Do you just kind of like, you know, just fucking like just chill and go to the beach and drink all day? I was like, yeah, dude, that's what I do.
That's exactly.
And you know, it's so funny. It puts a spotlight on the fact that when you haven't created a considerable amount of wealth, everybody's always chasing it, right? And you have this dream of this illusion, I should say, of you're going to get this money and you're like, oh, now I can finally relax and sit on the beach and drink my pina colada. Right. But let me tell you, that ain't how it goes.
Nobody wants to do that for more than like maybe 6 days, 7 days. And then it's like the people that are the type of people that are hustling and making that kind of money aren't just going to sit for the next 20 years and do nothing.
Exactly, man. And that's kind of what this whole new concept and everything I'm doing now is all about. It's about constantly moving. It's about momentum. And one thing I've learned is that if you're not growing, you're dying. Right. And, you know, it's that old cliche. You hear things as you're growing up and, you know, you're kind of like, oh, yeah, whatever. But it's so true. And like you just said, it was like for 2 weeks, I was on cloud 9. And then I was like, damn, well, now what?
Yeah.
You know,
right.
I was like, wait, I just spent 10 years trying to get to this point, and now what?
It's on to the next
what do you do
thing.
now? Yeah. It's like we were talking about the Jordan documentary, but it's the same thing. He won 3 straight titles, and he's like, you know what? What the expectations are so high. What do I do next? And so he challenged himself with baseball, but like, what do you do once you've reached the pinnacle? You work so hard to get there, and you're like, all right, well, what else is there?
That's exactly right. It's almost better to just always have that carrot just out of your reach. It's kind of crazy when you really take a 10,000 foot view and step back on it all. And, I saw this app one time. It's no longer in the App Store, but it changed my life. And it ties into exactly what we're talking about here. Yeah. It was called The Meaning of Life, right? And you clicked on it, and somebody turned me on to it years and years ago, right when the apps were coming out. And it was probably the third app to be created. It was really just one picture. And at the top, it said, "We strive for more." And then there was a semicircle or a semicircle arrow pointing to the bottom that said "because." And then at the bottom, it said, "We feel dissatisfied." And then another semicircle arrow pointing back to the top that says "because." And then back to "We strive for more."
Yeah.
So literally, we are caught in this never-ending loop of we strive for more because we feel dissatisfied. We feel dissatisfied because we strive for more. And at first, I read that and I was like, "How depressing is that?"
Yeah, you're good.
I was like, "That's so awful." Basically, we're never going to be happy, and whenever we get something, we're going to want something more. And if we do get something more, we're going to feel this. I was like, "That's all." But if you actually, so I kind of put this together to use it to my benefit. And if you actually think about it and use it to the fact that really all it is what we were just talking about, which is you just got to keep moving and growing. And there's always a way to do that. Then you'll be happy.
Well, and I don't know, you sound like somebody who has, I've really gotten into the Stoic philosophers and kind of really diving into all that. And like Ryan Holiday, the Obstacle is the Way book is really good. I recommend it to a lot of people. But he, in that book, he talks about, and it's not like his idea. This is like this ancient idea that happiness isn't found with you avoiding obstacles and like not ever having to overcome an obstacle. The happiness is found in meeting an obstacle head on and overcoming it. So it's like the joy and the happiness and the purpose is the circle, is that cycle that you just described. It's not reaching a certain point on the cycle, but the fact that it is a cycle means that it's just continual, and that's exactly the point. Yeah,
that's exactly right. It's that space in between those arrows that you basically need to focus on. And most of us just try to speed through life, and we get the to-dos checked off so we can get to that goal, right? But then we get there and we're like, shoot, that kind of isn't as rewarding as I thought, and I wasted. And then there's 10 years that just went by, and I didn't focus on that stuff in between.
Right. So let's dive into the 5 core values. So I know you talk about life's 5 core values. What are they? Let's dive into that.
So basically, your 5 cores, which are what I call these 5 main areas of our lives that we all share, and that we all need to continually build momentum and find balance in to become the happiest and best version of ourselves.
Rick's mom is number 1. We all share.
Rick's mom. Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Okay. I'll let her know after the phone call. I'll call
her. Got off the phone with her.
Yeah.
So first one is mindset, and your mindset is essentially, for lack of a cheesier phrase, is the glass half empty? Is it half full?
Yeah.
Are you an owner of your life, or are you a victim? Do you believe that you have everything within you to take names, and obstacles are only temporary roadblocks waiting for solutions, and that you're going to succeed no matter what? Or do you feel like you were born a certain way, there's nothing you can really do about it, your mind is broken, and you're just going to kind of hover above rock bottom until it's all over? And it sounds depressing, but you'd be surprised how many people fall into that sort of victim mentality, where it's kind of like, oh, the world sucks, it's out to get me, I can't do it. Whenever you hear people use words like, they and they're always, and it's like, who's they? Right. Who's there always? Is there a big conspiracy against you? Right. At the end of the day, you have everything within you to do what you want to do. Right. And so the whole mindset is kind of your main core. It's everything else kind of rests on it. Yep. And if you don't have that going for you, you're kind of going to have a really hard time with the other ones, because it really is just basically saying, okay, let's go. I want to be happy. And these are the things I want in life, and I'm just going to keep going until I get them. Okay, so that's your mindset. Okay. Then your next one is your career and finances. And this one is one of those that most people spend most of their time in. So you get out of college, you go to school to, you know, or if you didn't go to college, whatever, everybody thinks it's about making money. Like we were just talking about several minutes ago. I just want to, you know, make this money. And then once I get this, then I'll have everything I could have ever dreamed. And then, you know, but money, for anybody that's had it, it ain't happiness. But your career, what's important about that aspect is you want to make sure that whatever it is that you're doing for a living, that when you wake up, you're like, I can't wait to get started. And yes, there's always, no matter what you do, there's gonna be days you're like, oh God, I don't want to do this today. But in general, you want it to be something that coincides with your strengths and your passions,
right.
and you are legitimately loving kind of what you're doing, and you're excited, and you're, you know, when you're in the shower, you're thinking about ways to make it better. Like that's what a career is. A career to me isn't just sitting behind a desk and just looking at the clock, waiting for it to be over, you know, getting paid to do something that you're absolutely miserable.
Right. Yeah. That's why Rick it's so perfect. He's a nude male like sculptor. It's a really.
Hey, listen, they say if you love what you do, like it's like you never work a day in your life. Like that same line, a slightly less optimistic version of that is my dad got laid off from Texas Instruments. He worked there for like a month short of like 25 years. And he got laid off right before I went to college. And he got real introspective about it. And he told me, you know, hey, you're going to college. You're trying to pick out a career. He's like, find something you want that 3 out of 5 days you don't hate doing. He's like, it's not going to be great every day. You're never going to wake up and just can't wait to, you know, get into work unless you know, work in the film industry. So like, you're never going to find anything that, like you're in love with every day. But if like most of the time you don't hate it, like you have a big leg up on everybody else, because there's so many people who absolutely are miserable at what they do. And you spend more time at work than you spend with your family. It needs to be something that you find value in.
That's exactly right. And so, right. So the career in finance is right. It's like, you know, are you, this is a big part of your life, and, you know, you're doing it to make money. Are you enjoying what you're doing? And I would even take it a step farther, 3 out of 5 days. To me, that's not good enough. Right. I think but I'll tell you, you're absolutely right in that if somebody could be happy 3 out of 5 days, they're ahead of most people.
Yeah, screw you, Charles.
He hated his 4 out of 5 days, so I think he was on the
3 out of 5 would have been a huge improvement.
Right. And then the finance side is, there's ways to go about making money and having it compound for you and work for you versus against you. It's amazing to me when I talk to people that come out of college that don't even know how to basically balance their checkbook, how to use the law of compounding to their advantage, how to get their
saving
passive
money.
income and getting their money working for instead of against them.
Right.
So that's the career and finance side of it. Then you go into your relationships. I break that down into 3 categories. You've got your acquaintances and colleagues, which I'd consider us right now, you know, not super.
Oh, aren't you sweet? You're a sweetie.
People that, you know, newer friends or people you come across. And then you've got your friends and family, and then you've got your significant other. And so the main gist is, you know, each one of those has different aspects involved. And one thing I kind of left out in the beginning, within each of these cores, my whole system, everything I'm about, my whole life is about shining a big fat spotlight into each of these cores and asking yourself, where do I currently stand in each of these? What are what I call the failure habits that I've developed in each of them? And what are the success habits I want to replace them with? And that's really as simple as it is. And that's what it comes down to. It's understanding what your 5 cores are, knowing what the things that you've done that are through no fault of your own, by the way. A lot of these things come from the broken system that we've grown up in, which I could spend another 20 minutes on, but I'm not, the bottom line is that to me, the school system is broken. Just a lot of the
medicine,
tendencies and habits and things that we are taught growing up that become normalized are completely having us build negative momentum, right? So then, I'll just finish. And then the 4th one is your physical health, which is fairly obvious. So it's looking good, feeling good, gaining the energy and stamina to propel you through life. And then the final is your emotional health and your giving back is your final core. And that's your making sure that you're not constantly stressed all the time, like we were talking about earlier, and just going through your life like a chicken with its head cut off, scratching off to-dos, but you're actually stopping to smell the roses. You're enjoying life. You know what your passions are, and you're incorporating them regularly. And on the giving back side, it's, making sure that the world is a better place for having you in it than not. And, how many people can say that when they die, that the world's better that I was in it than not. And I think that's something that everybody should strive for. And when they do that, they feel much better and they feel happier. And so you combine those all together, you find balance, you're firing on all cylinders and you're killing it.
So we're descending to the runway here. We're almost out of time. If we could, well, I'm going to put you on the spot, and I'm going to send you the Calendly link to see if you'll come back in the summer so we can talk about the habit stuff and talk about the behaviors and replacing failure habits with success habits and all that. Would you be willing to
I'd
do
love
that for
to.
us? Okay,
yeah,
sweet.
I'd love to.
So before we go, really quick, we have a couple more questions we're going to ask you, but promote yourself, like moremomentum.com. What else? Where can people find you?
I too am a male stripper. You can find me on tigerking.org.
Fake policeman.
.org.
.gov. Yeah.
No, moremomentum.com. That's really, you go there. There's actually a free life evaluation quiz, which is kind of neat. So it'll tell you where you currently stand in each of these cores. It's just 3 simple quiz questions for each, and then it'll sort of give you an idea of where you stand in each core, and then it'll give you tips on what to do moving forward to improve.
Very good.
Oh, and by the way, More Momentum is MOORE momentum.com because my last name is Will Moore, so MOORE.
So when you were saying strive for more, you weren't talking about striving for you. You were talking about
No.
Oh, okay. I see now. That makes more sense with the whole. Okay, I was thinking about you were just like strive for.
Man, now we're gonna have to redo the whole interview. Yeah, damn it.
Like mine says strive for Rogers because that's my last name, but it doesn't. It just doesn't work. So, okay. And then, what is one thing you enjoy about life, or something you do to make life more enjoyable? It's like a hobby, or just something that you look forward to, either daily or weekly or whatever.
Yeah, so I would immediately, my mind goes to that's 2 cores, my career and my finance core and my emotional health core of, what am I passionate about, what I love to do. And honestly, what I'm doing right now with this More Momentum, trying to start a movement, trying to get people to understand what it means to be happy, what that actually means versus just all these, I hate these, there's so many cheesy self-help people out there. And like, I'm trying to like change all that and basically be like, look, it doesn't have to be cheesy and weird. It's nothing to be ashamed of to want to be the happiest and best version of yourself. And then to pay it forward to help the world become the best version of itself. So I'm just super psyched and loving life, doing what I'm doing. And, I work and I literally do enjoy what I do. And then I talk to my friends, I share it with my family. And so it's a whole thing.
So do you do you shoot hoops? Do you play?
Hey, you got any hobbies or anything?
Yeah, like
golf?
what is like reading books? Like what is your like
love
happy
me
place?
Some golf. I love reading. Yeah, I've read thousands of self-help books.
Yeah.
I was an insatiable self-help monster at one point. In college, I hit what I call my rock bottom, which is a whole other story. But that's actually how I got into all this stuff. I've actually been working on a book for the last 25 years.
Wow.
And it started in college when I hit my rock bottom. And so I love reading, and I've just always loved. And now when I go to the gym, it's translated into I actually listen to podcasts.
That's exactly. I listen to books when I'm working out. Yeah.
The golf, I'm a huge golfer, and it's funny, those 3 you mentioned, and basketball. I play
Really?
basketball times a week at the gym.
I just like
frisbee. Do you ever throw the frisbee around? Is that? Can we see if we can get that going?
You struck out on that one.
Oh, see, I win.
Of course, I've thrown a frisbee.
So,
I love frisbee.
So I have to ask you this. I know. What year were you born?
I just turned 44 on April 7th, so 1976.
Okay, so my brothers were born in 79. Your brother was born in what, 78?
77.
So we're all
basically
there.
The same kind of cohort here.
Right. So it's just we're clicking on all cylinders here. Okay, very quickly, I'm going to pull a Tim Ferriss on you. Like, you have to recommend like 3 books to somebody you just met. What are the 3 books that you're going to recommend?
Oh, that's easy. Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie, and Atomic Habits by James Clear.
Think and Grow Rich, How to Gain Friends,
How to Win Friends and Influence People.
And Influence.
By Dale Carnegie. That's the first self-help book I ever read.
Yeah,
changed my life. I've read it like 7 times.
Yeah.
And then a recent one that just came out that's really cool that kind of helped to formulate my whole habit theory that ties into all this stuff that I'm doing is The Atomic Habits by James Clear.
Mark has a follow-up question. Do any of those have pictures?
Shut up.
No.
Well, Mark, I'll read
out.
them and I'll give you this. I'll
whatever.
just give you the scoop because Mark doesn't actually read books. He listens to books on tape.
I feel
which
like
is nice, but it's not reading.
I feel like Will would side with me on this one. Listening.
Yeah, that's okay.
See?
No, not okay. You're not reading words.
No, it's
you're
okay.
having
Sorry.
someone read words at you.
That's
we can
fine.
all go to the library and have for
if you're getting the knowledge in your brain,
thank you.
To me, it's okay. Like I said, now when I work out at the gym, I've kind of switched that because now that I have 2 kids, and you have less. You guys know how it is.
Yeah.
You guys have kids?
Yes, we both do.
3, and he's got 2.
It's like, what am I going to read? Like at the end of the day when I'm freaking exhausted and all I want to do is lie down and watch.
That's exactly what I do. I am reading The Rise and Fall of the Third Reich, 2 pages at a time, and I fall asleep after 2 pages. So I'm going to be reading this book for like the next decade.
My wife actually just started reading next to me in bed as I'm watching Tiger King and Ozark and all these things.
Right, I know. It's
I need to just shut my brain down at the end. So the gym is a good, I listen to the podcast and stuff, and it's become kind of my new reading, and I kind of like it.
Yeah. Very good. Will, this is awesome. I'm going to send you the Calendly link to get you back on. I'm going to have this show will probably be up in like 2 weeks from today. So probably I'm going to try to get this one up before the end of April. So we'll have, anyway, I got a couple in the can that I need to release, but really appreciate you coming on. This has been awesome. Like I texted Rick during the show, like this is one of the best interviews we've had in a while. Nothing against the other guests we've had in a while, but this has just been really good. So I really appreciate you coming on.
Whoever interviewed before me is probably feeling real good right now.
Oh, they're not listening at all.
Oh, listen, nobody listens to this thing. Get out of here.
You're too kind to even imply that.
Well, you guys are fun, man. Yeah, I didn't really know what to expect too much, but this was really neat and fun, and you guys got great chemistry together. You could be lovers if you really.
Well, we are. Definitely.
Again,
we're laying in bed next to each other.
Kind of taking some time off right now, but yeah,
we're lying in bed right now.
Mark and I have actually known each other for the better part of about 27 years.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that
we
makes
grew up
sense.
together, so yeah.
We're not.
You guys got good vibe. I enjoyed this. Yeah, I'd love to be on anytime. So, and then
awesome.
You'll send me a link so that I can share it with my.
Yes.
my
As soon as it publishes, I will send you the link and to all the show notes and everything. So.
Perfect.
Awesome. Hey, thanks, Will. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Will.
Yeah. Thanks, gentlemen.
Have a good night.
That's it for the 5 Core Life podcast with Will Moore. I hope that you enjoyed today's episode. If you have not already, please make sure to follow and subscribe to the podcast so that you get notified when an episode drops every week. If you haven't joined the 5 Core Life Facebook group yet, I encourage you to also join that and see what all the fuss is about. There's some really great, awesome content there designed to get your momentum going, including a monthly giveaway where you can win a complimentary coaching call with the Will Moore himself. The Facebook group is currently the only place to get Will's dedicated attention and support on your 5 core journey. If you're feeling stuck or just want someone to cheer you on, that's the place that you need to be. There's nothing like a community of people on the same journey to get you fired up, kicking butt, and taking names. So come join us.
Well, get moving. Gain momentum. Join the movement. Join Emmett by going to moremomentum.com to take a free life evaluator quiz on where you currently stand in each of your 5 cores.